Hello and welcome back to the Halo Infinite podcast for Griffball. It's former admin and commish Noplex here with Mavman the Madman. How
Hello.
you doing today, man?
Tired and frustrated.
It's been a pretty crazy start to the season. It's definitely been a little bit more juicy than last season. A lot more going on, and last week was no different with the hashtag DeluxeGate.
Oh God, another Smurf.
Another Smurf. The thing that really sucks the most about this is obviously my team's involved and stuff happens. Things happen in the past, but the players you feel the worst about are the professionals like Ace B Silent. I mean that man's a straight up professional. It always sucks the worst for players like that. But I think our team will be okay, even though all the stuff that happens. I still feel like we got a pretty good roster, and Trespass has been stepping up and playing with us lately, and he played very well last night. So I think we'll be pretty good.
I mean, what? You're 7-1 on the season, or something like that.
Yes, yes,
I
you got it.
I don't have I don't have the thing pulled up at the moment. So
Yes, 7-1. So I think we'll be fine. But today for this mid-season edition of the podcast, we have standout phenom last season. Came in mid-season and was a player on Usurper season with Spankatron. Hit the ground running and was already an impact player. And this season, he's even climbing higher to the top of the grade. Welcome, Get Shreked. How you doing
Yes,
today,
sir.
man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you here, man. Thanks for joining us. So, last podcast I know you listened to, and I know some things may or may not have been said that you weren't agreeing with 100%. So,
some choice words.
choice words were had. So, hey, man, it's your time. You get the floor, the gavel, the pen, the marker, whatever it is, man. It's your time to talk your shit and tell your side of the story, man. It's all you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I won't take up too much time. I've said my piece, but Mr. Mav here in the call had some choice words calling me an
Yeah,
idiot, I
yeah. You're
believe.
still a fucking idiot.
And I just wanted to say it had nothing to do with me being stupid. We really didn't feel great about this in the first place. My buddy Cosmos, it was his first time ever playing a team game in a competitive setting, and he really just wanted to be on my team. We did not expect him to get to this. I think he's like a B plus right now. Didn't really expect him to get to that level as quickly as he did, and yeah, I mean, I've said it before. I was planning on messaging Spence almost immediately following the draft and saying something to him about it, and then Death sent that message. I think in the captain's chat. So just figured we'd air it out, get it out in the open and deal with the punishment that came. And some people feel like it was a pretty mild punishment.
You should have been banned.
Who, me or
Yes,
Cosmos?
both of you. Well,
See,
mostly
okay,
both of
here's the
you.
thing though, and this has been discussed on the last episode. Spence admitted himself that technically rules were not broken because the season is taking place in the Discord server. The Discord server had the rules explicitly laid out, and nowhere was this mentioned in the rules. And you can pull whatever cards you want saying, well, it's always been this way. But as Noplex said, last season was my first season ever. And, I'm new to this. Cosmos is new to this. And granted, obviously we knew it was a little bit scummy. Technically, rules were not being broken. And I believe it was Men's who referred me to a Griffball website that I did not even know existed and tried to claim that I should have known because it was on the website, even though the website is not mentioned in the Discord server, as far as I know. But anyway, it's been flushed out, it's been talked about, so yeah, I'm still happy to be here, still happy to be playing Griffball, glad that I wasn't banned, because I plan on sticking around for a while.
I mean, still, you know it's a shitty thing to do, and the reason I call it is because, first of all, if you're gonna Smurf all whatever you want to call it, don't tell people that's what's the point of even Smurfing to begin with? And
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. The smart thing to do probably would have been to just stick with it. But it didn't really sit right with me, and it didn't really sit right with Cosmos either. So figured we'd deal with the consequences and man up.
Yeah, I think the league numbers had a lot to do with the bans that were given out. Because I know in the past, whenever we had better numbers, it was common for a captain to get a 4 to 8 game ban for something like that happen, and the alt account player would be banned for the season and probably the season after. So it is definitely lenient, but I mean I get it with the numbers. We're trying to build the community back up after starting a new game, but
And I mean, you also have to take into account that Cosmos is brand new to Griffball, and it's not like he's some S player that I snaked in the third round and screwed up the entire season. In all actuality, he would have fallen to me or maybe to Deathcrawler. So I
would have drafted
understand
him
not.
instead of Geek League.
Okay, so you were how many picks ahead of me? 2 or 3?
Yes, he would have
Okay.
gone.
Regardless, did not mess up the balance of the season. I mean, my team is 6-4 right now. We're not dominating the season. We're not dominating the games that he's able to play in. So I feel as though enough has been said. It's over and done with, and we're paying the consequences. And if we win the season, Cosmos and I are not receiving any benefits. So I feel as though it's the sins have been paid for or are being paid for.
Yeah, I feel like got to move on and get the season done. It's good that you stuck around because a lot of people have had adversity in the community or get made fun of, and they start losing and they just leave.
Hell no, dude.
They don't even try.
I fuel on that. I fuel on that. Your boy's an S plus right now, and it's because people want to run their mouth, but you know what? Action speaks louder than words, in my opinion.
We all can't be Shrek tier. But gonna go ahead and move on to the next thing I got here. So there was another game type change that had to be fixed by A Spence, the Great Insect Slayer. He had to go in and tweak the hammer, and he's told me that Scullin has actually been helping out with the game type too, and he got it all fixed up. I couldn't really see much of a difference whenever I played again after it was fixed. So big shout out to A Spence and Scullin for fixing the game type and making sure we could continue the season.
I mean, 343 can't do anything right. Every fucking update they break something. So at this point, it's just like after every update, we have to hurry and make sure nothing is broken. If it is broken, we have to go through the lengthy process of fixing it and readjusting, recalibrating the whole game mode just to have something working.
Yeah, Noplex, you said that it feels pretty much the same to you, and I agree. I didn't really notice any difference in gameplay. So, like you said, I mean, just can't thank enough Spence and Scullin and whoever else is involved with the actual game mode because, I mean, to me, it felt the exact same as it felt before.
Right. And Mav, it's essentially, you probably know more about game type stuff than me, but it's essentially just going into the scripts and changing some numbers and values around to make it more balanced like it was before. Is that essentially what has to be done?
I would assume so. I don't have access to the foraging, but if I really had to assume, it'd probably be just checking to make sure like the values were right, and if they're off because of like the gravity hammers, like gravity is different, they'd have to maybe add or take away whatever the value is. Be more of an Ace question, but I would assume do something like that.
Yeah, that's definitely an Ace question, 100%. But either way, I'm just glad we didn't have a season delay, or it didn't take too long to get it fixed, because there have been times where customs were completely broken in the past, and seasons had to be delayed, and then people didn't want to come back and play, and there's just nothing good about that at all. So
reminds me of the Halo 5 season that apparently like took 6 months because 343 broke custom games and no one could play custom games for like 3 months.
Yep, that's the season I'm talking about. It was the first GGL season of the Halo 5 leagues, and once they got it up and running back for playoffs, they tried to get people to come back and play playoffs, and half the teams are already out. It's just nobody had any desire anymore. They kind of killed it. So
truly sounds like 343.
Yeah, big unfortunate, big unfortunate. So moving on to the next topic we got. We're just going to jump right into the mid-season standings and do a little team analysis as we go down the line here. In first place, we got Puffy Griff Bussy. And now, affection, that's the first time I've said it. I only got to say that shit 2 more times, as we agreed. So, Puffy Griff Bussy, one more time. They're 8-1, and by far, out of the teams I've played, which I haven't got to play every team yet, they are really strong. The Quantum Computer did it again. He drafted a very tank-heavy team. He's got the steal of the draft, possibly with Hell's Angels, and Aware, which is your teammate last season, Shrek. I feel like he's been playing better this season than he was last season, and he was playing really well last season.
Yeah, I mean, we had him running last season just because, Spank and Jushy, obviously, they need to be tanking. I wasn't quite comfortable enough to run, and Aware was pretty consistent with getting punches. So we kind of put him in a position that I think he didn't necessarily want to be playing in. But now that they have Hells running on his team this season, I think he's put in a position where, he's enjoying what he's doing, and he's able to tank, which I think he's probably stronger at than running. So, I mean, he's also got one of the best tanks in Spank to play off of, which makes life a lot easier.
I mean, you can look at the stats now. He has an actual positive spread, which is, something that's kind of uncommon for EU players to have because of connection.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, I don't know, not really sure what happened, but fuck, he got really good at tanking really quickly. Or maybe it's just the whole connection thing, because I know they changed the net code, so maybe that helped him out a bit. I don't know, but he definitely got better.
Yeah, taking a look at Aware's stats right now, I mean, he's got an A- in doubles per minute and triples per minute, which for a third rounder, that's a big deal. He's been doing really well.
I mean, on the player grades, he's also a B-. I mean, that's pretty respectable.
That's very respectable. That's someone who's played on that high ping in a foreign league before. I can tell you, it's freaking hard. Your sword is really good, obviously, because of the high latency, but the hammer timing, you have to be so far away and swing so early and hope they run into it. That's essentially what it is. You just keep swinging and hope they run into it. But like I said, either way, they've been playing very well. Spank, the last time we played them, Spank was a menace, like he normally is, but he was more so that game. I don't know. He was on a mission. It was really hard to get him off our half of the court. But,
yeah, that's my boy, dude. I mean, he is probably, if you want to describe a player as like a freight train where it's all gas, no brakes, that's Spank. S- sprees per minute, S doubles per minute, S plus triples per minute, A multi kills per minute, S on kills per minute. I mean, he is so aggressive and so good at, just that all gas, no brakes play style.
Yeah, the kill volume is real for sure. That team definitely works well together. And second place, we got Crazy Guys, and they are 7-2. That team is also very well rounded. I know they lost a game to Evil's team. I'm not sure what their other loss is, but A Spence really is a big backpacker on that team. But they're pretty well rounded. Tommy is just a really solid player. Grunt is respectable, and I know Smurf has been playing pretty well. I'm not sure how much he's played in the past, but they're definitely one of those good high chemistry teams that they definitely mesh well together.
I think this is Smurf's first official season. I'm pretty sure he's played in other events, but I'm not sure about seasons because I'm pretty sure this is his first actual season. So I think he's relatively new.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a top level player. I mean, looking at these stats, Spence has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 S pluses in goals per minute, KD per minute, sprees, triples, multi kills, and kills per minute. So I mean, he's got that team on his back, and he is just doing his thing. I know Tommy, all around super strong player. Looking at the grades, doing a little bit worse than last season. I believe he was an A. He's sitting at a B right now, but he's one of those players where stats don't really reflect how much of an impact he makes. He's just all around really strong.
Yeah, and I think with the pool filling up a little more this season and more players playing, it's going to fluctuate some of those grades. Some of them are going to go down and go up. But I was on Spence's team last season. He was my captain, so I definitely know how large his backpack's in there. He's got room for snacks and everything. He had to carry my old ass all season. So
Yeah, I think Spence is really good about like pulling the best out of his team. Like
definitely.
I don't know how to describe it, but just he's just a really smart guy and he knows how to rally the troops, I guess, and get the best out of each player.
I mean, he's surely what there. If there was ever going to be a player to pull like the best talent out of anyone, it'd be Spence. Just like the way he commands the field, well, I
Mm.
guess you'd say court. He watches film. He takes care of the scripting, so he like knows how everything works, which is sort of a plus. Well, I guess it's more of him and Skolin, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that understands the timing, the numbers, and the mechanics of this game like he does. He's definitely very involved in things. It's always good to get a straight answer on things when you ask him something technical. It's good to know for sure. So moving on, and fourth place right now we have KD's team skill difference at 6-3. Uh, Also another team that I feel kind of started a little slow, but once Sab kind of picked up the hammer and figured things out, they're a pretty annoying team to play against. They play together really well, and I don't know. Maybe this is just me, but Listless DK, if you're listening, you're my fucking kryptonite. Like I'm Shrek's kryptonite. Listless DK mops the floor with me. I don't know. I don't get it, but that man fucks my shit up every time. It's also a team you got to watch out for pass plays and all that too. It's just you got to be defensively aware.
Yeah, you did skip your own team, just so you know.
Oh, good, good. I'm great. Oh yeah, we'll get
I
back
mean,
to that. It's fine.
Yeah, this team is just honestly, whenever this team was drafted, I didn't know much about Sab, obviously being a new player, but I really didn't think this was going to be a good team at all. Obviously, KD, really good runner. Mungo's a solid tank, and I didn't know anything about Listless DK either. But this is just one of those teams where they've got that playmaking ability. And I mean, if you're not on your toes, they will expose you.
I'm not surprised you have Nerve listless because I don't think he's played in like since original Halo Reach, maybe Halo 4 season like a
Okay.
decade ago. So he hasn't played in a super fucking long time to my knowledge. So
Yeah,
that's
he's solid though. Honestly, he's pretty good.
yeah, for a player who hasn't played in a decade, he's definitely picked it up decently.
Yeah, most definitely. And I guess it probably would be good to just leave my team out of it and maybe go last on them, so I don't have to talk too much about them. Uh, but number 5, and it is kind of funny with the top 5 in the records right now in the standings because this is the exact top 5 other than one that I had in my preseason. So number 5, we got our guest here who's the captain. He can talk all about that. Get Shrek at 6-4. You have a player that's banned for 11 games. You've been having to use a sub, and sucks for you, but you've been having to use me as a sub too a lot. But even still, 6-4. I mean, that first game that I subbed for you against KD's team, that was a really close game. Ever since then, y'all have been picking it up and winning games. So I guess I'll just let you talk about that. You know more than us.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely started off pretty slow. And Snipes just getting back into Griffball, it's taken him a little bit to get used to this game and get the feel of it. But I mean, he's been rolling and he's been doing extremely well. I believe he is I think he's S in most of the multi-kill categories. Uh, yeah, S minus on sprees per minute, S minus doubles, and then A plus on triples and multi kills. Just one of those players that you're happy to have on your team. He is a dominant player, and yeah, I mean, I practiced my butt off from the end of last season to this one, and my goal was to get up to an A, and somehow I've been at an S, and I don't really feel as though I deserve it. I look at the people in front of me with Spence, Ace, and Novice, and it's like I think there's still a substantial gap between me and them. I mean, everyone else and them, they are just three very, very solid players who can do everything. And but I feel like I've been able to contribute a good amount to my team's success. And Cosmos, first time ever playing Griffball, he's been doing solid in the games that we've been able to use him. And yeah, I mean, a few losses that we had, it was just really sloppy play and also a little bit of not being comfortable with the subs that we were using. But yeah, I feel pretty good about where my team's at, and we had a great game against your team last night, Noplex.
Oh my God, yeah,
And
not to cut Mav off too hard here, but I should have said something about this earlier. That was one of the greatest games I've ever played. That was just nuts.
yeah, it was tight, man. I mean, we were down 4-0. You guys were absolutely rolling us. I was super tilted. I'm not gonna lie to you. I knew your team was gonna be good, but I didn't think y'all were gonna be that good. And I just had to give a little, halftime speech to my team, tell them, hey, we just got to do our thing, man. Like, they are not this much better than us, and we clawed our way back and tied it 4-4. And then eventually you guys put us in the spawn, and I think it was Ace was able to just walk it in, which was a pretty anticlimactic ending, but I mean that was probably the most fun I've had in a game of Griffball ever.
I think you guys had like the longest or the second longest game.
Probably. It was,
Really?
I think it was almost a 30-minute long game.
So, okay, so the longest game this season has been KD versus Shrek, which was 40 minutes. And then your game last night was 27 minutes.
Okay.
And I was
Yeah,
in
my
both.
team-
I was in both of those games.
My team isn't very good at getting the job done. It takes us a long time.
You're definitely a team that needs to beat them quickly, because if not, it seems like you lose a lot of the longer games.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with how my team's been doing. Honestly, I can say confidently that I will never captain again. I thought I would have more fun doing it, but it's
Ooh.
the scheduling and everything. I mean, it's just a lot. But actually, like leading a team has been fun. I've enjoyed that.
That's probably the only fun part. As a person who's captained multiple times in multiple seasons, it's not a pleasurable experience.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil, I guess.
Ah, he said the thing. He said the thing. But I guess we can move on to the next couple in the standings. Now, these two get a little hazy because they've only each have 5 games played. But we got Operation Doomsday at 4-1 right now, and I'm not even too sure of who they've played so far and who they lost to. But I feel like we played against them in customs and of course in preseason and whatnot. Um, I'd say that Deathcrawler drafted a solid team again.
I mean, for a person who's only played, this is his second season ever, and he's been actually really good at drafting teams. The Solus pick might be a tiny bit of a reach since he hasn't played in, I don't know, 2 years? Something like that, maybe a year. I forgot how long the last time he played. It's taken him like some time to get used to the game since I've been watching the games with them and been in their VC at times trying to help them. But I would say like honestly, give enough time and they'll work itself out.
Yeah, speaking from experience, I mean, we played against them in week 3. I really struggle against this team. They're very, very patient. Deathcrawler and Noplex are my kryptonite. The way you guys play is really difficult for me to deal with. I think the first game was 5-4. They won, and that was, I believe, with us using Cosmos. And then second game without Cosmos, they rolled us, and it was a 5-0.
Got 5-0.
Yeah, and they were using Hells in place of Chemical, which I know Hells was picked after Chemical, but obviously they have different strengths. But I think Hells really complements this team well, and Solace. I mean, he was giving me some trouble too. He's going to be an absolute monster as he gets more comfortable with the game. But I think this is a really solid team.
Yeah, I think if Solace can kind of find his ground, he's a talented player for sure. I feel like Chemical was a really solid pick for Deathcrawler. And, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Doorstopper.
Yeah,
Who we had in the
veteran.
last round. Yeah, Chemical was a really good pick. It'll be nice to see what he does in the more games he's played because I think he's only played once in one game.
Yeah, yeah. He went off on his honeymoon.
Yeah, understandable. And now for probably the second best team name, because we all know what the best team name is. Number 7, we have Buff Oily Men and Women at 4-1. I don't know anything about this team. I haven't even played against them in customs. They didn't play in the preseason rush. We haven't played them yet, so I don't really know nothing. I do see that Zilly was my teammate last season, and he seems to be playing a lot better. I don't know if he's had more time to practice and play, but he's been playing a lot better. Novice is, one of the best players in the league, top 3 easy. So that nothing really needs to be said there. I know Command Station is the pro player, and they've been running the ball, I believe, and Sev is just an all-around player, and I know he can back up run when they need him to. So they definitely have a strong team.
Yeah, I mean, I think right next to your team, this is probably the most well-rounded team. They've got Sev who can run really well if Command isn't having a good game. But I think Command Station probably has the potential to, be an extremely good player, granted that they are a Halo Pro, at least I believe they are. And like you said, that combination of Novice and Zilly is just, that's a lot of tanking power to deal with. And I think having that really strong tank in Novice has really helped Zilly to excel this season. And, he's able to play off of Novice, or maybe vice versa. Maybe Zilly's the primary tank with Novice playing off of him.
I'd assume it'd be Novice.
Yeah. Whatever they're doing, it's working, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We all know Novice will gladly bully his teammates into getting better or playing customs. It is not something unknown. He likes to do it. He tries to get the best of everyone. I'd say he's a more toxic version of Ace Spence to a certain degree.
It's like Ace Spence is Spider-Man and Novice is Venom, I guess.
Yeah, gotta love it. You gotta have some entertainment in the community. It helps keeps things interesting. Yeah, that's one thing he provides, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see when they play more games and see how their records pan out since they only have 5 games played. And now to the rest of the standings, I just feel like this last playoff spot or two, the number 7 and 8 spot, it's going to be crazy going towards the end of the season. And right now at number 8 we have Separate Intelligence at 3 and 10. They have the most games played. And from us playing against them, they seem like a decent team, but they just lack the tanking power that some of the other teams have. It's really rough when you have to pick that late in the draft, and all the other S tier players and A plus players are gone, and it's just you got to pick who you can. But it's still another solid team on paper. It just seems like they're lacking a little tanking power to get the job done and finish games.
Yeah, I agree for sure. There's a lot of talent there, especially with Scullin and Dylan. But yeah, I mean, there's just not the tanking power, unfortunately.
Who's on that team again? Is it? I'm trying to find.
It's Dylan. It's Dylan, Scullin, Menz,
and Diablo.
And Diablo, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the men's pick was a little bit of a reach. Not saying men's is bad, but like he clearly doesn't like. I don't think he wants to play. But I think Dylan and Scullin are both solid players. I think Dylan's a B, and I think Scullin's an A. No, Dylan. Yeah, so Dylan's a B minus, and Scullin's a B plus. While Diablo and Men's are what? I think Fs or Es. So clearly sort of a one-sided thing there when it comes to skill.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that their 2 strong players, are both runners, right? Like Scullin can tank, pretty well, but he really excelled at running last season. But Dylan, I mean, I think he's got potential to be probably one of the best runners if he would really practice the game. I mean, he's the guy that got me into Griffball way back in the day. He played with me in matchmaking one day, like I was on the other team, and he invited me back in the Reach days, and then he kind of taught me the ropes. So shout out to Kids Today.
Kids Today. And wasn't Men's on Scullin's team last season too?
Yeah,
I think he was sort of drafted as like they've played together, and he was sort of hoping to get like the most out of Men's, but I don't think that's worked particularly well so far.
Yeah. Next we got at number 9 we got Sarja Squad at 3 and 8. That's Necessary Evil, Fancy, TJP, and Ray. And like I said, there's still games to be played, and that last playoff spot is going to be hectic to see who gets it. This team is probably, with their roster, I feel like they're just, it's really hard to put a pin on them because they're 3-8, but they've won against three really good teams, but they just can't seem to close on the other teams that they probably should be beating. It's really hard to put a finger on it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I don't want to say this because it sounds mean, but I think TJP just really hasn't been performing as expected. He's at a D right now on the stats, and I know last season he was an A or maybe a B plus.
I think he was an A minus or a B plus. It was one of the two. I can check. Hold on.
Yeah, so I mean, this team I think should be a lot better, but it was likely due to, TJ kind of disappeared after last season and wasn't really in customs and practicing, and I think he kind of just fell behind the rest of the pack.
Yeah, it's crazy that they've beaten Puffy Griff Bussy. Okay, I've said it 3 times. That's it. They've beaten buff, oily men and women, and then they've beaten Ace Spence's team. That's the three
Yeah,
wins they have.
the potential is there, man. I mean, it's a talented roster. It's just I really don't know what's missing.
TJP was an A minus last season.
Yeah, and to fall all the way to a D, that's tough, especially when it's not like he's expected to be the star player on this team. I mean, he's got Fancy, who's,
A
I
monster.
mean, one of the best tanks easily. So I don't really know what the issue is for this team, but the potential's definitely there.
Yeah, I
It's
just think.
probably just like a lack of consistency.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying before about the pool being filled with more talent. It's going to fluctuate grades and skew some numbers, and except for mine, apparently mine just goes down regardless, even when I play better. I've broken the system, but yeah, it's he reached out to me and he didn't know much about the players currently, and I gave him advice on who he should draft. I've gave him a couple options, so I kind of helped him build his team. But I'm not sure what their schedule's looking like. If they've just played a bunch of tough teams and maybe they play some other teams later and they'll have a chance to pick up some games. But yeah, it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. And next we got in 10th place Paradox Warriors at 2-8. Pop Tart drafting his former teammates from Paradox Warriors, a long-running GGL team that he used to recruit and get new players into the league and whatnot. So I think he only wanted team players on his team that he used to play for him in GGL. So, and they all have, and I as well too. It's
Not really a team that, not to say it to be mean, but not really a team that's supposed to win. But it's like they have potential, just like maybe obviously a team drafted by just to be like friends and hang out. Seems like to me.
Yeah, I was really confused whenever he drafted this team. Not to be mean, I didn't get it. And playing against them, I mean, they're certainly not bad at all. I mean, there's a lot of playmaking ability. Pop Tart is an absolute headache to play against, and Sherbert Shake, I mean, he's a solid player. He's a headache to deal with as well. And then Spoon he's kind of off in his own world, just running to the spawn. It seems like, but there's just not. There's good synergy, good cohesion to the team, but I just think they're lacking and they don't have a strong runner. They really don't have a strong primary tank. But yeah, like Matt said, I guess this is just a team that's trying to have fun.
He
Yeah.
did tell me beforehand that he was drafting a team that looked like he was throwing. So
Makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, I say like he's it's obvious if you just look at the roster, like the talent isn't quite there. Like maybe if they figured stuff out, they could be interesting, but I don't know. Just clearly not a good team, to be honest. Like not saying they can't be good, just I don't know. It just doesn't work all together, I guess.
Yeah, I think with this team, Sherbert Shake is really solid. He's pretty annoying to tank against. I know Spoon does a lot of their running, and Pop Tart's just the leader. He does whatever's needed. I think Bear, I know he's been struggling to try to learn the game a little bit, and I know that one of the 2 wins that they have was when I sub for them against Crazy Guys. That I don't know what their other win is, but it seemed like whenever I subbed for them and I was their fourth, it seemed like it seemed like a different team in a way. We're scoring on pass plays and just getting good pushes and stuff like that. So I think you're right. I think you're both right, actually. It's definitely a team full of friends, but there's some potential here too. They could definitely pull out some close games if a few things go their way. You know, they get lucky. But yeah, moving on, and to 11th place we got Angry Duck Noises at 2-7, and we'll just let Mav talk about that.
I don't know how to quite say this, but so this is a hard one because I don't want to be mean to my team, but like I expected more, to be honest with you. But obviously, Rain hasn't played in I think probably a decade too. I don't think he's played since probably like Halo 5. I'd have to ask him. With Cleek, I thought he would learn the game a bit better compared to last season. I think he's actually doing worse than last season. But to be fair, Cleek's never been much of a stats guy, so it's sort of, I don't know. I thought he'd be better. Ducky's, Ducky. I can only give him so much shit before he actually gets it. I don't know. It's a frustrating thing because I'm trying, but there's not really enough talent, or like our team isn't playing well enough for me to be able to do much. Because I feel like if I run, we struggle tanking, and if I tank, we struggle running. It's a tough thing. Hopefully, we can figure it out. I think we play games tomorrow, so hopefully we can figure this out before it gets to the point where it's too late.
Yeah, it's a weird spot, obviously you're one of the strongest runners, but I mean this team severely lacks tanking power if you're running. So unfortunately I don't really know what an answer is for you guys.
Only if trades were allowed. Only.
Yeah.
I think this team is kind of like Sarger squad in a way. It seems like the roster is a little bit better on paper than how they performed. I think the one thing y'all have to your advantage is you've only played 9 games, so that means you have what 13 more games to play.
Yeah,
And
there's certainly like improvement, and we can hopefully somewhat turn it around before, shit hits the fan, and there's no point.
yeah, it's like if everything's there. I know Jester's a solid player. I haven't played too much against him other than our games this season, but I mean you're a great two-way player, Mav. And D-Cleek has always been a solid player, and so is Gambit. I mean, I reign 77, but I'll call him Gambit or that wimpy deer. That's what I always know him as. But also another solid fourth that just gets it done. It just seems like, it's like you said, you just expected more out of that team. But overall, all the teams this season were definitely a lot more well balanced than last season. It definitely shows for sure. And then at last place we have Gingy and Moist Grapefruit at 0-6. Um, he's told me that Icy Tanker just doesn't really care much about trying to get good at the game, and probably would be good if he gave it a shot. And Epic Beast is solid. He's been playing well, and Joe Pro has been giving it his all. He's been showing up the games and whatnot. I've seen Gingy get a little streaky on the tanking line and whatnot, but they still got a lot of games to play left. But definitely in last place as of now.
I think really the only player besides from Gigi who could get like the most out of Tanker would probably be Ace Pence, because Ace Pence is friends with Tanker. I think it's just like not to call it that pickles to reach, but just like talent wise, if Tanker actually committed, he might honestly be like a top 5 player if he really does commit. I also know he has really bad internet, so I've seen games where he'll just like teleport around.
Yeah, I mean I've known Tanker not personally, but I've known who he is since 2014 playing Halo Reach, and the potential's definitely there. I mean, him and Gingy could make for the best duo, in the season. But if Tanker's not willing to practice, there's not much you can do about that, unfortunately. But the potential's definitely there. I think every team's got potential.
Yeah, definitely well-rounded. I just feel like the draft was good. Like I said before, it always sucks when you're a good player and you're a captain because you definitely have to wait a lot longer and a lot more names get taken off the table, especially people that you really wanted to draft. So like for you, Shrek, I know you really, really wanted Spankatron,
Yeah,
but
that's my boy.
but
I was heartbroken.
man, that team is really good that he ended up on. So they're definitely one of the top ones to watch on. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next thing I got here, and it's something I quickly jotted down to talk about for a little bit. We're just gonna do 4 stat categories, top 5 in each stat, and shout out to Mav for helping compile the leaderboard to help me out with this. So first we got the big one, KD spread, the king, and you're not gonna believe who first place is. I guess I'll go from fifth to first. In fifth place we got Spank at positive 105, and in fourth place we got A Spence positive 132. Third place we got Papa Snipes positive 153. Second place Ace Be Silent at positive 218, and number one Get Shrek'd plus
Wait, what?
245.
Yeah, year 245.
Oh my gosh, I thought it'd be Ace.
No.
Oh,
Shrek,
okay.
Shrek tier.
Thank you.
What you thanking me for? I didn't go fucking
You
plus
say don't thank
245.
That's crazy. I didn't think that was gonna be the case.
Don't thank me. I can't even go plus 10 in a game. Shit.
I mean, you've subbed for me, so you've helped the magic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, man. Plus 245. Numbers don't lie. Not usually,
Yep.
at least.
I mean, I do play. I'm not nearly as aggressive as players like Spank or Ace. So I mean, obviously KD, it says a lot, but it's not. You can't look at that to see how good someone is because my play style, my average life, I don't know what it is this season, but last season
can
I
tell
think.
you what it is.
Yeah, please.
It's yeah. So you have the second highest average life of 23 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, the way I play, I try to take up a lot of space and just stay alive. And I mean, it works out. It lets me get a high KD, which isn't why I play that way, but it just is one of the benefits, I guess.
Well, I wouldn't say you're not aggressive personally. I just think you're really efficient and deadly. You know the ranges and the timing really well, so you're not passive or aggressive, I don't think. But I would say if I had to call you one or the other, I'd say you're pretty aggressive. You're just really good and efficient. You get the kills you go for. So, yeah, it's like you said. You've been busting ass since last season because you probably
Yes,
knew you were
sir.
going to be a captain. And yeah, you got
Practice
to do
makes
that.
perfect.
All right, so next we got leaderboard and goals, top five. And in fifth place, we have KD Skill with 16 goals. Fourth place, A Spence has 17. Third place, Shrek has 20. Second place, Zim has 25. And number one is Hell's Angel with 30 goals. What a steal of the draft they've been this season.
Oh my gosh, man.
Probably going to be the
Hells-
winner of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Hells has been putting up incredible numbers, and they are probably the most aggressive runner. I mean, I've only played 2 seasons, last season and this one, but some of the stuff they go for just feels not very smart to me, but somehow they make it work.
It's the reach kid mentality.
I guess it is. But it's really impressive. I mean, when we played against Death and Hells was running, it was just the amount of pressure they exude the entire game was just it makes it really difficult to play against. And I can't imagine what that's like in tandem with Spank tanking. Like there's just it's a lot of pressure. That's a whole lot of pressure coming from that team.
Hashtag reach kids, let's go. Yeah, she's definitely they've definitely been definitely an impact player this season. So next we got top 5 total kills. Fifth place, Hell's Angel at 628. Number 4, you're not gonna believe who number 4 is. Take one guess.
Who?
You.
Me. No
Really?
flex, 716. It's because of all the subbing. Mostly
Big flex.
thanks to you for all the
Hey,
sub games.
you've been helping out, man. I love having you in there.
Thanks, man. Number 3 is Shrek at 721. Number 2 is Fanciest Pants at 732. And number 1 is your teammate, Shrek, Papa Snipe, with 832. Definitely a
Wow.
slayer.
Yeah. Snipes is, I mean, I said it before, he's a menace, dude. He's just getting kills and more kills and more kills. And it seems like every game we play, he's beating me by 30 kills, which, I mean, I love that because, like we talked about, I don't really get, I mean, I get a decent amount of kills, but I'm not holding forward the entire game, just slaying. So I think me and him playing together has really worked well for our team.
Yeah,
Jeez, I just realized he has like 100 more than everyone else.
Yeah, it's crazy.
To me, like when I played you guys the other night, like he's not an aggressive player to me. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but he's passive.
Well,
So
I will say, recently, he's really been trying to encourage our entire team to slow down a little bit, and I think he's had more success against players like you an ace whenever he's not swinging first and whenever he's a little bit more passive. So that could be just, his play style evolving and adjusting a little bit throughout the season. Because I remember very clearly yesterday, before the game even started, he was telling me I need to slow down.
I say that to myself a lot. I tend to
Yep.
lose focus in longer games. I try to keep my focus. I get impatient without really realizing it. I gotta tell myself, slow down, slow down.
Yep, that's right.
But that's funny for me considering all I ever do is fucking back up.
Yeah, fucking D-Click was getting pissed about that the other night.
About me
Because
backing up.
Yeah, because you would back up and his hammer would do nothing to you, like the entire game.
Yeah, no Plex, you're just a nightmare to play against. I cannot deal with you.
I don't see it, but I can. I mean, I guess I understand. I've had other people tell me that I'm pretty spongy. Like I just don't die in the normal range. I'm really kind of squirrely and get away. But hey, I'm just glad I can include myself on a leaderboard. Damn it.
Yes,
But,
sir.
all right. Now, the last one I got is ball punches. I figured that'd be a stat people would be interested in. Fifth place. You've been on every fucking leaderboard here, Shrek. Fifth place, 80 punches. Fourth place, Mav has 93. Third place, Katie Skill with 105. Second place, Hell's Angel with 114. And first place, Invada Zim with 141. And Zim didn't even really want to run the ball this season, but he kind of picked it up and tried it out and was getting punches, and he started to like it more and more, and so now he's our runner. No takesies backsies.
Yeah, it's like what 30 more than the second place person, which is kind of wild for a person who didn't want to run.
Yeah, and better he than me, because I mean, Ace can hold the ball, but it just seems so wasteful.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't want ace running. That is shooting yourself in the foot to the
I know you
max.
I know you guys like tried doing that. It didn't like work as well as having Zim run because you want Ace tanking all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was his suggestion. He suggested he try to run it because we were having trouble keeping possession, and keeping the ball is really important on this game and being able to push up with it and punch. So that was his idea. So Coach Ace says to try something, you try. I'm not
That's true.
I'm not giving no talk back to him. So,
When Ace
but,
talks, you listen.
yeah, for sure. So, last thing we got here, I kind of have here mid-season rankings, but that's sort of what the schedule is or the standings are. That's sort of, but another thing I have on here is playoff predictions. So I guess maybe we could talk a little bit about that. It seems like the top four spots are going to be, going to be pretty solid because we're already in the part of the season where we know who the strong teams are, but it's like I was saying before, that last couple of spots for the playoffs are going to be just nuts. Like it's going to be crazy for the last teams fighting for those bottom ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really don't know. Obviously, there's still quite a few games to be played, but I have a feeling that this season's going to end with 3 or maybe 2 teams having very similar records. And it's going to be interesting to see how that seeding plays out because, I mean, that can make or break some of these teams that are going to be lower seeds, whether they end up playing against a team that they've been successful against, a team that they've been struggling with. So, yeah, there's still a lot of games to be played, so I don't really have a ton of insight into this.
I just pray my team fixes things. That's all.
Can I give you my advice, Mav, even though I'm just a scrub?
What's your advice, Shrek?
You need to stop running. You are wasting your tanking potential. I know you're a great runner, but
can't
dude,
do it
give
because-
Cleek the ball.
We'll see. I'll talk to him about it later.
I'm telling you, man. Watch, you're gonna start winning games.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's just a lot of games to be played, and like I said, that bottom spot or those last 2 spots are going to be scrambled for sure. It'll be really interesting to see what happens when Operation Doomsday and Buff Oily Men and Women play some more games because they just don't have enough games on the record to really predict them where they're going to be in the final standings. But it's really hard to predict who's going to take that last spot. I just feel like it's got to be between Sergeant Squad and maybe Angry Duck Noises because like I was saying before, y'all still have a lot more games to play. And I just feel like all the pieces are there and they're just not meshing well. It's like you said earlier, Mav, just expecting more, that sort of thing. I just feel like y'all definitely still have a chance and some games to be played.
hopefully we can all figure shit out.
I'd say overall, if I had to say a team was number one right now, or top three or whatever, but number one team, I still have to say Infections team. They
Don't
just,
say it. Don't.
oh no, I
The
already
same
said it.
Texas
I
team.
already said it 3 times, man. I'm good. I hit the stipend, but I feel like they're just really strong. He's a good captain. They just have a lot of talent on that team. They have a backup runner if they need it. They got all the tanking power in the world and then some. They're just gonna be really hard to beat when they play at their best.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close for like the top four. I really can't say which one I think will end up as the number one seed. It's either going to be Novice, Zim's team, Spence's team, or Infection's team.
A whole lot of Gripple to be played.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll really depend on which team can continue improving. Um, that's a big deal throughout this, what is it, 6 week season? It's a long time to get better at the game. So we'll
Yeah,
see. We'll see what happens.
I think my team, regardless of what we've been through, to touch on us for a little bit, of course we've ran into some problems or whatever, but I feel like when we played our last, I mean, we played with y'all. We played you last night, Shrek, and we were using Trespass. I felt like he was playing really good, and I was trying to encourage him. We played against KD's team before that and won a game, and I feel like he was playing really well. And I just think if he gets in and practices with us, it'll be really really good. I don't understand myself. I feel like I'm playing better now, and my grade's going down, even though I'm playing in more games. People are asking me to sub. I'm feeling pretty good about my play, but my grade just plummets. I guess I don't really care about that. 'Cause
Well, I mean, I think it's because the stats are based on per minute, right?
Yeah,
And
they're
you're
not
not an
a permanent
aggressive
player.
player.
yeah,
You said it yourself one time whenever you were subbing for me. You'll probably always be an early third rounder to late second rounder because of the way you play. But I mean, the impact you have on a team is insane. That's why if I need a sub, I'm always asking these other captains, can Noplex please be my sub?
and
Like I
they'll
want you on my team.
and they'll always say
They're all
yes.
hands.
Yeah, I think only one team has said no.
Really?
And I believe it was Pop Tart.
Oh,
Maybe not. I don't remember who it was, but I know one team said no. And I was really frustrated.
that's hilarious. Big ego boost.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you're a great player. I think you serve a role that not many players can serve, and you do it really well.
Thanks, man. I
I guess
try.
I guess that's the one downside of like the player grades is like if you're a passive player, you kind of get shit on a little bit because they are run by like per minute instead of maybe like per second or whatever metric would be best.
I just play my game and do my best. I know, like I said, I'm a passive player. I back up a lot. I'm not real big on kills per minute, KD per minute. I don't run the ball either. I don't use equipment either. So I literally do everything to sandbag my grade. But I don't know. I just try to be slow and get the kills that I can get. But I think the more important thing is that we have Ace on our team, and that just gives you a certain level of comfort knowing that he's on your
Yeah,
team.
no
Zim's
kidding.
Zim's been playing really well. He's been tanking a lot better. He's picking up the game a little more and liking it a lot. And shout out to him for wanting to be our captain after this fiasco. Definitely a strong team, no doubt about it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
well, boys, I think we've about wrapped it up. The only thing we got to do now is outro, and if there's anybody out we want to call out or shout out or anything like that, this is your time to do it, Shrek. You got the floor again.
Oh man, I mean, I've already shouted him out like 2 or 3 times, but got to shout out my boy Spank. Uh, Him and Dat Twinkie, if you guys know who that is, they're the ones that got me back into Griffball. Um, so big thanks to him, and wish his team the best of luck. Even though I absolutely despise that foul name that they have. Yeah, shout out to my team too with Snipes, Cosmos, and Avenger. Shout out to you, Noplex, for all the hard work you do for this content and for subbing for me. And of course, shout out to Spence for organizing this whole thing and dealing with a little bit of a chaotic season, which I'm partially responsible for.
You get all the blame for that one.
Yeah, last season was also quite chaotic with all the game type changes, but yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for being a guest and chatting it up with us. It was definitely fun to have you on, and we will see you next week.